So long ago in the distant past, I owned a Mavic Pro, and I sold my Mavic Pro, and I went and bought myself a Mavic Air, and it looked fetching. Let's just say fetching, like a sports car. Absolutely beautiful. It was a solid, sturdy, felt very much like a workhorse of a drone. It was tiny, but boy, wasn't it massive on the inside. So, skip forward 3 or 4 years. So, we're skipping forwards 2 years to the present, from 2018 to 2020. And many people think that the Mavic Air 2 looks less like this and more like this. Now, I'm not the kind of person who really cares too much about the way something looks. I'm more into functionality. Will the device do the things I need it to do? And in the previous video, I talked in some length about the rumoured specifications of the Mavic Air 2. And I'm not going to be covering that in this video. Instead, I'm going to be talking about how does the thing look, ergonomics, styling, design, because it's important to some people. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because online I've seen quite a few posts about people complaining about the Mavic Air 2 and how it looks compared to the Mavic Air, or the original Mavic Air, let's just call it. Now, the original Mavic Air did have its own styling, and I own the Arctic White version, and yeah, it had some weird sort of design sort of cues, like the battery fitted underneath, it didn't fit on the top. A lot of people were scared that the battery would fall out, a little bit like the GoPro Karma drone and how its battery used to fall out before it was recalled, although that was an entirely different design. But that had gotten many people concerned, having the battery underneath as opposed to having a battery on top like the Mavic 2 series of drones, or even the original Mavic for that matter. And it is quite convenient having the battery on top as well, because it's easy to take out. You don't have to fiddle around, there's less chance of it dropping out and hitting the ground by accident. You know, you have to, I mean, it's quite easy to do. If you're pulling it out through the bottom, and it slips, you drop the battery, it lands in a pool of water. It could be a nightmare situation waiting to happen. So I do prefer the battery on top. In terms of the actual look though of the Mavic Air 2, it's true, it does look more like a Mavic 2 series of drone. There's no getting away from it. The design, the way it looks, it could almost be a Mavic 2. And that's got me thinking, does it really matter? Does it matter what a drone looks like? When it's in the sky, when it's, say, 400 feet away, 800 feet away, it's a little dot. You can't really see what it looks like. No one really cares. Most people that see a drone are probably not going to like it anyway. I'm just joking. Maybe just 40% of people that see a drone in the sky won't like it. But that said, does it really matter? What I liked about the original Mavic Air was the fact, or at least the Arctic White version, was the fact that it looked like an Imperial Stormtrooper, which kind of looks a little bit like my car. You see, there's a theme here. So having a Mavic 2 Air that looks also like a Stormtrooper, or hell, even a Snowtrooper, or an ATAT pilot, in case of Yonic's Black version. And yeah, I know I'm digressing a bit, but you know I have a thing for Star Wars. But anyway, that said, yeah, I had an attraction to things that looked very Star Wars-esque, and so the original Mavic Arctic White looked amazing to me. Whereas this looks like something out of the Terminator, which is a good film, but I don't think it's in the same league as Star Wars. Why am I talking about movies? Well, I think that when we look at a gadget like this, we are kind of social conditioning, the things we're used to, movies, the things we're interested in general, in our social lives, things we're interested in terms of our media consumption, does influence what we buy and does influence what we think about gadgets and how those gadgets are going to fit into our lives. So I think the look of the Mavic Air 2 does have some bearing, actually. People shop with their eyes. They don't always shop with their brain. Looking at the Mavic Air 2, It looks like it could be a really good drone. 48 megapixels, I'm hoping, but it's a 48 megapixel still shot and not some kind of, I can put it stitched together 48 megapixel image like you get from the zoom. Now in terms of size, there's only something like a 3 centimeter difference across both axes from engine to engine between the Mavic Air 2 and the Mavic 2 series, so it's not that much smaller. Now the original Mavic Air to me was a little bit like the MacBook Air versus the MacBook Pro. It was a lot smaller, it was a lot chicer, I think, but for a lot of people who don't have a drone or who have a Mavic Air and may wish to upgrade, will have a choice to make. They'll either go for the Mavic 2 or they go for the Mavic Air 2. If you already have a Mavic 2, is it worth getting the Mavic Air 2 as well? Because to be honest with you, until I knew just today really about the size difference between the Mavic Air 2 and the Mavic Air, I was thinking of getting the Mavic Air 2, and I might still get it anyway and do an unboxing. But in all honesty, why would I buy the Mavic Air 2 if it's not much smaller than this? And if the functionality isn't really that much better? I mean, it might be in terms of, you know, the software, quick shots and things like that. But when it comes to the actual camera quality, is it going to be better? Is it going to be worth me spending extra money? Would I sell this to buy it? I don't think so, because looking at it, it doesn't look that much different to a Mavic 2 series of drone. And that's, for me, is the main thing. It's not how it looks, it's about functionality. And it's about, is it worth me as a buyer spending extra money on something that perhaps I don't need? Maybe it's just a sideways step at best, or maybe even a slightly backwards step at worst. So I might just wait for the Mavic 3 Pro, Mavic 3 Zoom if it comes out this year. Hopefully it will. But yeah, in terms of looks, I mean, the Mavic Air did have a kind of a pugged-faced, sturdy little dwarf thing going on. I know somebody who called their drone Tyrion from Game of Thrones, and that pretty much sums up the Mavic Air for me. It's a little Tyrion. It's powerful, it's smart, it gets things done. It's fairly good looking, good into having a scrape, but it's not one of the big boys. It just pretends to be one of the big boys, and I don't mean that as a slight against anybody who owns a Mavic Air. It is really a capable drone. So as much as the Mavic Air, the original Mavic Air, is a fairly attractive drone, let's not forget, but there are certain quirks about that drone which annoy people very much. Number one, it only has 8 gigabytes of internal storage, which I know is better than nothing, but when you consider that DJI used to sell their drones with a 16 gigabyte card as a matter of course, then you realise that they've just put the SD card on the inside and given you half the capacity. Number two, the SD card door on the back was really hard to get to, and some people just left it open because they just had a hell of a job trying to open and close the door. Many people had to resort to using tweezers to pull cards out and to put cards in. When the drone was at full speed, the gimbal used to lock, it used to pitch down at something like, what was it, 80 degrees or something daft, and the video was just impossible to use unless you were after that specific kind of a look. It didn't really work for me. So, and it was noisy. Boy, wasn't it noisy. It really did sound like, can you say a flock of bees or a herd of bees? Because swarm just doesn't seem to be the right word to fit the noise of the Mavic Air. It really was noisy, and it really did detract from having a smaller drone because it used to get people's attention. You know, you take a smaller drone up, you're hoping that it will attract less attention, but it attracts more because it's just so noisy. So these were downsides to the Mavic Air. Now if I'm looking at the Mavic Air 2, obviously I don't know how loud this thing's going to be, but it does have the noise reducing props by all accounts, so that's something. Slightly larger, but that means it'll be easier to see in the sky. I say slightly larger, it's quite a bit larger really. Another positive of the Mavic Air 2 is the fact that it has downward facing LED lights. The Mavic 2 series has 2 lights, but at least it's got a light. And I can remember flying in a desert in Nevada, one of my Mavic Zoom drones, and I lost sight of it. It was a really bright sky, very blue bright sky, and you'd think to yourself, well, the last thing you'd do is switch on a light because the sky's so bright, you know, what you're going to do? It's not like it's nighttime, you're not going to see it. Well, I did. I switched the light on my drone and I saw a little bright star in the sky, in the blue sky, and I knew my drone was there. So the light comes in really handy, even in daytime. So I think that's a good thing, it's a bonus to have a light on the bottom of the new Mavic Air drone. And the other thing is, I think that DJI, in terms of their aesthetic, they're going for a particular look. And they're going for a design aesthetic across their whole range of Mavic series drones. So from the Mavic Mini to the Mavic 2, we're seeing a very similar form factor. And I think that's going to be part of DJI's signature move. So they've gone from having drones like the Spark and the original Mavic Air, which were sort of design cues in their own right. Maybe a particular designer at DJI was inspired and had enough, say, leeway to create a drone according to his or her vision. But now I think it's more of a corporate look. So, in the words of a famous song, it's the final countdown. So we'll see what comes out of DJI Skunk Works in the next few days. In fact, in the next 6 days. Or maybe the next 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 or 1, depending on when you see this video. And while you're here, subscribe! Jeez, I'm a new channel, so I don't expect loads of subscribers, but come on guys, I'm at 55. I give a packet of crisps away, salt and vinegar flavour, to the 56th person, and you can hold me to that. Just send me your address and I promise you I will send you a packet of Wool's salt and vinegar flavour crisps. So there. Did I say Wool's? Walkers. Walkers. There's no such thing as Wool's. I'm going mad, aren't I? Don't do it, Lee. Don't go mad. Anyway, until next time, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, and if you have any suggestions on future videos, that would be great. And stay safe out there. Cheerio!